Hey, this is Corbin. I'm going to emulate two new techniques that I just learned from watching Anne-Marie Ridenoff videos off of her channel. If you haven't been there, it's a really good channel. I, of course, want to take it into my own direction a little bit, in that I have my pre-mixed items here. And so I'm going to go with some yellow here and some blue, in order to come up with, in order to do a little bit of mixing with it to get my green. Alright, I'm not going to do too much of that. And I'm going to be experimenting with some paint that I've been using. And I'm going to use it a little bit here to create that color as well. I really don't like mixing colors, so this is my effort to not do that. So I'm going to put in some pure white and some blue and some yellow. So now I got some greens and some yellows and some whites on top of that. And I usually will like a little bit of black. These are my pre-mixed items here, in which I have lots of videos that explain how to do that. I put about a little less than a third of water, a little more than a third of paint, and a little less than a third of Floetrol. And that's using the Flow Acrylic Paint, which is already kind of watery. If I was going to use some tube water, then it would probably be equal amounts of water from a tube and water. Alright, I give that one more stir through those blacks. There we go. Alright, and this is the idea here is that you took it and not uncommon to us here, but you've seen, I'm sure, is to put a lot of white around the edge here. Good. And you know what? She didn't flip it. She poured it in. And so, got some stuff there. And then you take this and you scoop it over. Try and basically, like if you're into cooking, folding egg whites, to get a layer of white on top. There we go. And that looks like too much paint. And then from here, allow them to come up to the surface. So I have quite a bit of runoff. And you know what? That's really not a problem, because I've been taking my skins and turning them into jewelry with cocorons, or whatever you call those things. I've never been able to pronounce them. Haven't really heard anybody, so maybe you can help me out with that. How do you pronounce that? Okay, well, I'm kind of liking this. We're getting kind of a negative space here. I am kind of trying to pull. I do like linear lines. So I'm kind of digging that right there. With the layers of the white paint, you end up with it mixing and creating some different shades, which I really like that idea of. And I forgot to bring something to prop that up, so I'm going to have to find a prop for that in just a second. But I wanted to give you a kind of a bonus and us do another painting. This one was interesting, I thought. It's going to be very similar to that approach. First is to, and boy, look at that. Can you see that cell right there? I'm kind of out of phase. Hold on a second, let me adjust you. Okay, that's beautiful. So maybe I won't mess that up, and I can end up doing, make some little bit of a skin for some jewelry for that piece. This idea was a little bit different. It was to do your flip cup, which I'm going to redo some of. I just might try to redo everything I just did, just to see how different things can turn out. Okay. As much as I can. So much of it is not controllable. That's okay. That's one of the reasons why we like doing this. And a little bit of black here and there. A little stir. All right. Now on this canvas, you'll see that I have taken some tape and I put it around the edge here. I'm going to move this over a little bit there. Good. And do the flip cup again. And then do a flood. Around the edges here. There's a problem getting to the edges, so why not just create a little segue and do some tilting while keeping a little pressure on my cup. I'm going to get a little to seep out. That's normal. That's going to happen. Alright, so I've used the tape to build up some walls so that I'm kind of working in a pool of so my cup lid is kind of underneath there a little bit, so I can move this around. I've seen people talking about doing a scoot. I'm going to tilt it forward a little bit, get some whooshing out of there. The thing that appealed to me about this was right now I'm really kind of releasing this in not the top, but really the bottom. Or so, what I'm trying to say, when I'm lidding the paint out of the cup, I'm lidding it out, and it's kind of a little bit there is going underneath that layer of paint. So one of the things that, if you don't know about this idea, is about pour art or flow art or fluid art. Doesn't really have a great name that's really decided yet. I wish we could find one and kind of stick to it. Is that it's you kind of want your white on top because the white is heaviest, and so it's going to have a tendency to sink. And so your colors, which have some additives in them, like mine has dimethicone, now allows the colors to kind of go up through and create the cells. And so if you're wanting the cells like we're doing here, I like where I tipped this one. It kind of created a bunch of cells, tipped this one, but this one I lifted off of, which looks really different. I don't know that I really like that. So I kind of wish I would have had more of those. I can continue to real softly move them. Look what I have here. It did not go, I did notice that. It didn't go all the way to the edge. I think I'm going to tip away. And when I remove the tape, it'll cause it to go off the edges and do my edges. Well, I'm not really getting the look that I was wanting or going for here. I wanted a negative space one in which those cells kind of popped up, and I kind of kept them, and I'm not achieving that. So I'm going to end up with something probably similar to the first one. But you also can do, it's kind of a swipe, is that you pull the color from one area and bring it over here like that. When you're doing like trying to get a flower effect and these could be the stems. This can be kind of pull from the middle there, create a what might be a look like a stem. But I'm not super thrilled with that. So the nice thing about having a big old base of it is that I can continue to move it around. So when it catches an area, now it's going to stretch out. I always like that. If I'm not careful though, I will just get some murky stuff here. I purposefully chose colors that are going to come together without creating brown. So I have the blue and the yellow, but I do not have red in here from the primary colors, and so hopefully that will not, I do like that. I'm getting all the way to the edge of my tape here. There we go. So I could either leave this alone and see what happens. I could torch it and try to get some cells from some other areas here, either before or after I take off the tape and let it go. But okay, I'm starting to dig some of the turquoise that's being created right here with the mix. And then I can just do a good old-fashioned swipe. I'll set that down to do that. To the areas that I don't super care for. Alright, now that for me is better. I like that. Now if I was to torch this, probably some colors I just covered up would be particularly the dimethicone, which is a silicone or a polymer. It's a oil, and so it'll cause the like I illustrated with my hands, the oil to come up through and create some more of those cells. So I think I'm going to continue with this here and just continue doing some swiping. Does anybody else think about Dora the Explorer when we talk about swiping and say swipe or no swiping in your mind? I don't know. It's probably just me. Whenever my kids were little. Less of these bold colors here and more of the faded. I usually use, look how pretty that is on the knife there. I wish I could keep that. That just looks awesome. I could, although this is kind of a failed experiment of what I was trying to do. That's going to happen a lot, particularly as you're learning this medium, and I have a hard time controlling myself to not continue to experiment, even when I'm trying to do something intentional and it's going the right way. I get the idea, ooh, what if I did this? And that's not always good, because I end up kind of ruining, if you will, a lot of opportunities. You can let them drip and create these dots. Sometimes I like that and sometimes I don't, because the dots normally create like almost like a Hershey's Kiss top. If you're looking from the top down, like the peak of it is the swirl when you're looking down, and sometimes that's okay and sometimes I don't like that at all. And it could just be the melancholy artist thing. Alright, I'm getting more of that teal color from it blending more and more, which if I was doing other things I might not really care for. But with this particular color, we can see that cell just kind of erupting like a volcano right there. So I don't know. There's the more I was just talking with my wife that I wish we had one of those undo buttons whenever we're doing this, because normally you're like, I like it, and let me try one more thing, and boom. Don't you wish you could just push a back button on it and send it back to where it was? But normally I don't like as busy or zigzaggy as this. So I do think I'm going to try to even out the paint here and just let it stop. And so I'm going to find something to put this on and remove the tape. This should work well. Gotta be careful because I'm in my spare bedroom with carpeting, not in my shed where there is no floor to worry about. Okay, and we're getting pretty close to the life cycle of this. I don't really care for that. I like this, so I'm going to let this go over. And again, the more I mess with this, the better I'm liking it. So I'm not doing a very good job of stopping myself. Could get to that point where I'm like, boy, I wish I had that back button. I was going for a negative space look. So I'll keep some of that there, I think. Alright. Not terribly disappointed with it. So I'm going to finish up the sides as probably everybody knows how to do. This one's already done. That one's pretty good, has a little bit to do. This one needs a lot of work, so I'll be adding some paint on the side. Frequently, I use my fingers and I just dab up some. That's kind of a little less precise. I've seen people using a brush, and I have not tried a brush yet. I can imagine pretty much how it would go, but the majority of the time I am using this knife right here, and so I am going to the sides and I'm looking for the colors that I want. I wonder if I can angle you so that you can see that side. So I'm wiping off my knife here, and I'm looking to match what I have. So I pretty much can't go wrong with white. Just want to make sure that there is. You gotta watch the corners in these canvases, is that they have a little space there that I like to make sure that I fill with paint. Usually I have a puddle, but my puddles are pretty mixed right now. Pretty mixed up puddles. So maybe I can use that to my advantage. You see, I'm really kind of painting this on now, but it is getting kind of blended. I do not care for that. The ideal is I want it to look like it just ran off the edges like the other ones, but those most likely will end up being the top of a piece. But if I just let this paint go down on the side, if you use your finger, you can kind of paint it on, but you also just lay it down like that. I try to roll it down. I'm being a little selective of which puddle that I'm picking it up. It's on the plastic here, and that's assuming that I like the painting more than I like the puddles, because there's so much we can do with the puddles. Alright, so that's one way to handle it. This continues to drip off here. Like so. See, look at my finger. It's beautiful. But I'm not really taking the time to match it very good. There's other times that I have done that. Going towards more of that turquoise. I do really like. You kind of run your finger down across the bottom because it's going to drip off. And it's not terrible. You can fix things like this corner where I did that. That was not the best move. So I'm just going to either pick me up some more white, or if I can't find me a good puddle with white, I can just, since I have all my pre-made, I'll just let it drip off. We're working with fluid dynamics, and so we're watching how the fluid works. So when you're doing little repairs on the sides and stuff, which I notice a lot of people, they don't share that part on their videos. Get a little bit of movement there, so it can kind of show me the way it wants to go instead of me telling it how it should go. And that can kind of fix those things that look like mistakes. Normally I'm doing the side work like this. It really does a pretty good job of repairing itself. Even though I might have a tendency to get it muddy again. And then I have what's in my cup, too, that I can also just pour against the edge. But in this case, I do seem to go back to using my finger. And I try not to do what I just did there, where I just push it because it just kind of gets muddy. It'd be a good solution on top sometimes when you got a hole, because it has a tendency to fill itself in. So I might go back and just get me some more of this white. Put it on. Let the white tell me what it wants to do. Listen to the white. Alright, well, overall, I don't think that either one of these pieces is unattractive. Wasn't necessarily what I was trying to achieve with them, but I will give you a view of it. And this is the one, first one. And this is the second one. Not too bad. Sorry for the shaking. Thanks for watching. Corbin out.